I never say I've got imposter syndrome. And when someone tells me they've got imposter syndrome, I never, ever accept that as the answer. You might feel it, your feelings are valid, but if you're having a conversation with me, a one-to-one with me, a career chat with me, I'm not accepting that. We're going to go deeper. And that's what we're going to do on today's episode. My name's Taz. I'm a woman. I'm brown. I grew up in Birmingham. I was raised by a single mum on free school meals. I've spent the last few years navigating corporate exec life. And what I've learned over the years is there is a set of corporate rules nobody is saying out loud. And that's why I created this podcast. This space is for us to unpack those rules and to help you figure out how you want to navigate the system and engage with it. I would love for you to follow on Office Real Talk on Instagram or TikTok and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts so we can get more of us listening and winning in the corporate world. Hi everybody and welcome to today's episode of Office Real Talk with Taz. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that so many of you DM me about. I talk to so many people who mention it and it's something that has become almost a big phenomenon in the corporate world. And so many women, ethnic minorities and people from low income backgrounds, people like me talk about this. It's imposter syndrome. Now, I think about this often. I have very strong views on it. And today I want to get into what is it? Where does it come from? What do we need to do about it? And how do we really help ourselves navigate it? Because a lot of us think this is the thing that is holding us back from progressing in our careers. So, imposter syndrome. This thing that so many of you are feeling, we've given it a label and we've called it imposter syndrome. We've packaged it up and what we've said is this is the thing we've got. And when we talk to each other, we say things like, oh, do you feel that too? Oh, my imposter syndrome's feeling really loud. I don't know why I can't move forward. I'm not sure why I won't feel ready. I'm not sure about how I'm showing up in this scenario. I think it's imposter syndrome. The thing is, when you start calling it that, it feels explainable and it becomes generic and it becomes a label. And nobody in the corporate world tells you that once you put a label on yourself, everybody else will put a label on you too. How you talk about yourself is how you give permission to others to talk about you too. But let's keep going. Before we get into the depths of imposter syndrome, how come so many millions of us all have it and we're all calling it the same thing? I just can't get past that in my head. And the analogy I always use is COVID, right? I don't want to bring up any PTSD, but let's talk about COVID for a second. We all, in fact, the entire world pretty much experienced COVID at the same time. Yet we all had very different experiences. So many people that I talk to in my friend network will say, oh my God, I hated lockdown. I was just locked in the house. I put on so much weight. All I was doing was eating. I was just like binge eating. It was really difficult. I, on the other hand, loved lockdown. I was in lockdown on my own. I worked out every day. I quit a bunch of bad habits. I started going to therapy, but I did feel quite lonely and quite confined in my flat. They're very different experiences to what my friends had. And so how can we all say we are going through the same thing? How can millions of us just go, I'm going through imposter syndrome? Imagine when we're all going through COVID and we turned up going, I'm going through COVID, and everybody's like, well, here's the same generic treatment you all need. That's what happened, right? If we all go around saying we've got imposter syndrome, people are just going to say, oh, you've got imposter syndrome. You need to go work on that. Or until you get over your imposter syndrome, you're not going to get much further. No shit. We've got to stop making it so easy to label ourselves without picking out and like peeling the onion of what really exists underneath that. And we've also got to stop making it easy for the other people to say that they can put that label on us. It's very easy, isn't it, when you don't get the job, when you don't get the interview, when you don't get the promotion, when you don't get the opportunity, for you to say, I think my imposter syndrome showed up. And for the other person to say, do you know what? They were actually good. I think the gap was that they've just got a bit of imposter syndrome they need to work on. Or imagine you go to your feedback for an interview or a situation where you've put yourself forward and they say, what do you think happened on the day? You know, what is it? Because I think you could do the job. And you say, oh, I don't know. I think it was my imposter syndrome. And they say, oh, that happens to loads of people. You just need to go and work on that. I don't play with that. And I'm going to get into how I talk to people in one-to-ones, in coaching sessions, in career sessions, when they tell me they've got imposter syndrome, because I do not play with it. I never say I've got imposter syndrome. And when someone tells me they've got imposter syndrome, I never, ever accept that as the answer. You might feel it. Your feelings are valid. But if you're having a conversation with me, a one-to-one with me, a career chat with me, I'm not accepting that. we're going to go deeper. So when you say you've got imposter syndrome, what you're actually feeling is probably a myriad of things. Like you're going to get caught out. Like people are going to find out one day that you're not good enough. Like everything you've built, the success you've built, you're going to lose. Like you're not going to belong in a room, or you don't belong in a room. Like you will make a stupid mistake. You will ask a question, you will say something that people will think, oh my God, she's so silly. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why is he even here? That's that feeling that so many of us have. I have those feelings too. And I know so many of my friends and peers who have those feelings. I've got a friend who's really confident, competent. I love talking to him. And I always feel like he asks really intelligent questions. And we were in a meeting where it was very, very senior people. So kind of, me, my peers and above, right? And he said he had a really good question. I said, what was your question? And he told me what the question was. And it was so intelligent. I was like, wow, that's such a good question. Why didn't you ask it? And he said, because when they said, has anybody got any questions? He thought of the question. He started even putting his hand up. And then he thought, what if I sound stupid? What if I sound stupid? What if when I get asked to basically say my question, I get it wrong? What if the words that come out of my mouth aren't right? What if they're not articulate enough? And he said, I was just literally toying with my hand. He said, then I finally thought, I'm just going to put my hand up and do it, right? He put his hand up. And then as his hand was up, he was like, I hope they didn't notice my hand. I hope they don't come to me. I hope they don't come to me. I hope they don't come to me. And it just so happened that, the slot timed out and they didn't go to him. But when he told me that for the first time, I remember saying to him, I am so surprised that happens to someone like you, because you would never know it. He called that imposter syndrome. I call that overthinking. And I also call it a room full of people that don't make you feel like you are psychologically safe. Now, that might be about the room, but that might also be about him. He doesn't feel like he can fail in that room. He doesn't feel like he can make a small mistake in that room. He doesn't feel like he can sound silly in that room. Too many of those people in that room don't look like him, don't come from his background, don't articulate themselves like him. That could be all of the things that are going on. So if you think it doesn't happen, if you think people who succeed and get to the top, people who excel, don't have these feelings, they do. They also just have to do the work and push through them anyway. All of those feelings that I've just talked about are valid, but they're not all the same, are they? They all need very different treatments. But what we've done is we've labelled them all as imposter syndrome. And by doing that, we've given the system an out. We've given them a label to put on us. We've given them a generic way to treat us. And the truth is, we're all operating in a system that wasn't designed for us. Of course, we're going to feel like imposters. That's like when you go to a new country. I went to live in the Philippines at 25 years old. I have never felt more out of place. No one looked like me. I didn't even know if they all spoke the language. They did, but I didn't know that. It was my first time on that side of the world. I was on my own. I've never felt more like an imposter in my life, because I'm not expected to fit in there, am I? I'm going to look different. I'm going to sound different. Well, firstly, I'm brown, right? Secondly, I'm British. Thirdly, I've got this accent. And fourth, I come from a completely different world. Of course, I'm going to stick out. I could have called that imposter syndrome. But the truth is, I was nervous. I was worried that I didn't know anybody. I was worried that we wouldn't have anything in common. I was worried that I was younger than everybody else and they would think I don't know what I'm doing. I was worried about how they were going to receive my feedback. I was actually worried that I didn't prepare and I didn't know how to give feedback well in those scenarios to people who have just met me. They were all the things that were happening under those scenarios that we could call imposter syndrome. So in a system that isn't designed for you, of course you're going to feel like an imposter. When you give the system an out, they can say, oh, it's their confidence, it's their imposter syndrome. And by giving them an out, you've made it very easy for them. And if that happens and we keep giving the system an out, nothing changes. Remember, if you're listening to this podcast or you follow me, you know I don't mess about with victim mentality. That's not what this is about. We're not going to sit here and cry about the system. It's the system we work in, and we need to choose how we engage with that system. So stop giving the system an out and start doing the work that you need to tackle how you show up and how you feel. No more generic labels are placed on us. We've got enough. God, I'm fed up of the labels that are put on us. Let's stop making it easy for people to put more on us. If you were having a coaching session with me or a one-to-one with me, and I said, tell me what's going on, what you're really feeling, right? And anybody who has been managed by me or been in a coaching session with me or a career chat with me will know that my energy is very much straight to the point, real talk. and tough love. But I'm trying to get to the bottom of what is going on with you, right? And I'm trying to really channel into what are your feelings. So I'm going to ask you, if you say it's imposter syndrome, what is it really? And you're going to say imposter syndrome. And I'm going to say, no, what is it? If you couldn't use the word imposter syndrome, if you couldn't use those words, what would you say you're feeling in that moment? And most people will tell me a few things. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I can't do everything on the job description. I feel like I'm not ready. I feel like someone's going to find out I'm not good enough. I feel like I've done really, really well for myself and I almost can't believe it. I feel like I'm going to lose it all. I feel like it's all going to get taken away from me. Have you ever felt that? Because that's what people say to me in coaching sessions. So when people stop saying imposter syndrome and you start peeling back that onion and asking why, that's what you get to the bottom of. When I get those answers, I ask, who are you with when you feel like that? Who's in the room around you? What's the scenario? What's the meeting about? What's the situation? What's the context? Because the truth is, imposter syndrome isn't constant. We don't feel it all the time. You might tell yourself you do. I feel it all the time at work. It's triggered. It is a trigger. It is deeply pulling at something that's in you here or here. It's a trigger. And when I say in here, in your mind or your heart, right? It's a trigger. Funny how imposter syndrome never shows up when you're with your mates. Funny how imposter syndrome doesn't show up when you're at home. Imposter syndrome mainly, for most of us, shows up at work. And for some of us, it shows up when we're trying new things, brave things, scary things, when we're putting ourselves out there into the big wide world. When I started this podcast, I had a moment of that. Shit, what if nobody likes it? What if it fails? What if I don't do so well? I'm putting it out there publicly. That's scary. That's nerve-wracking. Of course I'm going to feel like that when I do new things. That's not imposter syndrome. It's nervousness. It's anticipation. It's fear. Also a little bit of excitement. When you do new and big and scary things, of course you're going to feel like that. But I would never, ever call it imposter syndrome. So I ask those questions. What's the context? Who's there? Who were you with? When was it? And I also ask, how did you show up? So let me tell you about my imposter syndrome at work. It shows up in two scenarios. One, when I am in a room full of people who I know more about a topic than I do, and I'm having to lead on that topic. That can sometimes make me feel like I'm going to sound stupid. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going to get caught out. People are going to be like, oh, she's not good enough. And the second is when I know I haven't prepared for something that I should prepare for. There's a lot of stuff I turn up to where I don't need to prepare that hard, right? I've worked really hard in my career before, so I can turn up to things not having to prepare as hard as I used to. But there are times where I need to prepare and I just haven't got round to it because of my diary, because of it's been busy, unexpected things, etc. And that can make me feel like I've got imposter syndrome. The truth is, in both of those scenarios, something is happening. In the first one, it's because I'm normally in a room full of people where I don't feel comfortable. And in most of those cases I can think of, nobody looks like me in those rooms where I don't feel confident. And I don't feel necessarily that anybody's going to be like, hey, actually, let's give Taz a minute. Or Taz, are you trying to say this? Or let's help her. I don't feel like people are in that room to try and make me feel my best. Now, that's not necessarily about them. It's how I feel. I don't even have evidence of that. Right? But it's how I feel. And the second is because I haven't prepared. I haven't done the work I need to make sure I'm showing up at my best. In both of those scenarios, the answer is instead of calling it imposter syndrome, is firstly naming what the scenario actually is. And secondly, figuring out how to take action. Because the only thing that gets rid of that emotion is action. So in the first scenario, what I would do is I would figure out who's in the room. What are the kind of things that they know? What are the kind of things I think they might ask? How do I prepare to answer those things? How do I take someone with me who's an expert where I don't know all of those things? Who can I contact before the meeting to figure out what kind of things might come up? How can I tee them up to say, look, I'm a bit rusty on these things. Can you help me understand it? Can you explain it to me? Can you coach me? Or if I can't answer these questions, can I throw to you? And going in with a mindset that I can be really clear in saying, I don't know everything. Going in with a mindset that can say, you know what, I'm going to pass to Bob. I'm going to pass to Tom. I'm going to pass to Harry. I'm going to pass to whoever. And I'm going to say they are better placed to answer that question. Going in with that mindset of being in a position to do that doesn't make me feel weak. And in the second scenario, going in and thinking, well, actually, if I haven't prepared, that's on me. Carving out the time to prepare. What do I need to prepare? What do I want to say? How do I want to come across? How do I want to be perceived? And getting comfortable with the fact that you will never, ever, ever know everything. God, if you do, don't listen to this podcast. You should be somewhere else by now. I don't know everything. I never will. And I'm totally okay with that. And we put this pressure on ourselves that we've got to know everything. Do you think I got here by knowing everything? Nuh-uh. I got here by knowing what I don't know, by asking for help without feeling weak, by hiring people better than me. I've stopped feeling like an imposter and acting like an imposter because I did the hard work to get here. But I know my areas where I feel nervous, where I feel weak, where I feel scared, where I feel like I need that validation. I identify them and I do the work and I figure out who, because it is who, sometimes it is people, and what triggers me. And that's what you need to do. Stop calling it imposter syndrome because we're never going to win. We're never going to set ourselves up to succeed when we do that. The truth is, you don't need more confidence. You need more clarity. You need to take real action. You need to take real reflection time to figure out what's going on with you. There is no way this many millions of us can be feeling the same thing at the same time all the time. I don't buy it. I won't have it. And if you ever get to work with me or get into a one-to-one or a coaching situation with me, I will get to the bottom of it with you. You have worked hard to get to where you are. It is natural to feel nervous, scared, like you're going to get caught out when you are doing big and scary things. Do them anyway. Do them scared. The way to cure anxiety is to take action. You can't build confidence. When you want confidence, build evidence. So when you know that you might be going into a scenario where you think you're going to feel imposter syndrome, figure out what is the feeling that you're going to have. What do you think is going to happen? What evidence have you got of that? Who's in the room? What's happening there? What do you need to do? And then prepare for it. Take action. And when you do, and if it goes well, you've built evidence. And you'll do it again and again and again. And your brain will start being wired in a position to say, I used to feel like this, but when I take action, I actually feel good. And I've got now an evidence log. And every time you go in prepared and trying to fight and push through those feelings by doing the work, you are building an evidence log that's really big in your brain that rewires you to basically say, I don't have imposter syndrome. I used to walk around saying I've got imposter syndrome. I can't remember the last time I said it. Doesn't mean I don't have all the feelings that you guys have. Doesn't mean I don't have all the feelings I've just talked about. But I'm not a victim to it. I won't say it. I won't give the system an out on me, and I won't give myself an out. I do the work, and that's what we all need to do. We need to show up differently if we want to get on. I hope you've enjoyed that episode. I hope it's been something that you can reflect on and learn from. I'm so looking forward to getting into this discussion more. It's a really big topic. I've started here and we can build on it. So if you've got any questions around what you think we should be talking about, any scenarios you want to share, please get involved in the conversations on social media, be that on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. I'd love to talk more. And if you feel like you want to have a one-to-one with me and you want to play this out, let's do that. I would love to do a session with whoever's up for it as a one-to-one in this studio where we get into imposter syndrome. If you're up for that and you're not camera shy and you're willing to have a conversation with me, let's do it. Because the more of us that start getting into those conversations, the more we're going to open this up for all of us to succeed. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I've really loved talking about this. I could talk about it for weeks. Please tune in for more. And thank you so much, as ever, for listening and supporting me.